Hello, everyone. This is Steve Coleman, and it's another episode of PTC Live, coming to you from Piedmont Technical College. And today, we have a very good friend of mine and a very strong professional here at Piedmont Technical College and is making things happen in our communities. Mr. Rusty Denning serves as our Associate Vice President for Economic Development. Rusty, how are you?
I'm good, Steve. Thanks for having me on today, and hopefully we'll have a good conversation of some of the things that we have going on here in Economic Development Division and some of the exciting things happening in the community.
Excellent. I think we will. I'm always excited when I talk to individuals about our college because of all the wonderful things that we have going on. And you and I talk quite regularly. Not only are we colleagues, but we're also good friends. And I also know that there's so many things that you're working on and going through our communities in Greenwood, Lawrence, Edgefield, Abbeville, McCormick, Newberry, and Saluda. So we want to talk about some of those things. But first, why don't you give us an overview when people talk about economic development and they still sometimes think of it as continuing education programs. Tell us about the priority of your division and how it relates to workforce training.
Okay, just to give you a little background with continuing ed and why, used to it was always called continuing ed and now it's economic development. Mm-hmm. A lot of that had to do with, a lot of times there were community courses that we did. Those were as people know them, the fun courses that folks could come and take for a couple nights a week or a couple weeks and get some type of just kind of hands-on training. But it really wasn't leading towards a professional opportunity for them. It was more just for fun or hobby or whatever you may want to call it. Well, the focus has kind of shifted more to that economic development, workforce training. How can we get folks out still using that same format of short-term training for someone who may not have the opportunity to go to school for 2 years to get a 2-year associate's degree, but right now they just need to get some type of certification or some type of knowledge in an area so that they can get that next job. And that's where we kind of come in. So again, we've kind of been quietly behind the scenes doing some of this. But a lot of times we're out in the community working directly with these companies, finding out what are your needs now? What type of certification do these folks need to get their foot in the door? And that's where we come in.
Oh, great. And speaking of that, that's a great segue into some of your current areas of focus. And I know in our communities, we have so many manufacturing opportunities that are growing in our communities. We have the Upstate Center for Advanced Manufacturing that I'm sure you'll be having some tie-in with and connecting our students with job opportunities in our communities. But their current areas of focus in terms of short-term training programs and those types. Tell us about some of those programs that you guys are putting out right now and are using to make connections with employers in our communities.
Okay. And I think that's the one thing for most folks to understand is, again, the last couple of months, we've all kind of been on the shutdown, as you may want to call it, or cutting back and folks staying at home, not getting out as much. And even some of the job market had, I won't say dried up, but had slowed down somewhat because everybody's not operating at full capacity. Yeah. But as we're seeing some of these companies come back around and they're starting to bring, say, those furloughed workers back on employment, you're also seeing openings in some of those areas because some people are using the opportunity to maybe change a career and go into something else. So now that's leaving opportunities open for other individuals to come in and take those jobs. And those primary areas that we're seeing are the two biggest would be in manufacturing and in healthcare. Now, we're still seeing it in all the other areas, but those two seem to be the ones that we're starting to see the biggest gap or employment opportunities for individuals.
Great. And can we talk about some of those specific programs? I know there's things like there's CDL, logistics, South Carolina manufacturing certification, EMT, CNA. Talk about those programs and what's going on with those programs within your division.
Okay. I'll try to take each one a little differently. And if I miss one, make me come back to it if you would.
All right. I'm checking them off as you go.
All right. But I'll say like your CDL, again, that's our commercial truck driving program. And that's one that we started about a year ago and, had this long waiting list for folks to get into it because of the need in our service area of our 7 counties of Piedmont Tech. But of course, when COVID hit, you couldn't do that because, again, that stopped the face-to-face training. And you just can't do truck driving on a computer.
Right.
So that's, now that we're able to do, as we call it, hybrid type training, we're able to go in and do the classroom portion online, but we still are allowing individuals to come in and complete those lab times, which when you look at our CDL program, there's 50 hours of classroom, which again would be virtual at this time. They do 50 hours of what we call on the range. And again, we've partnered with some folks here in the community, Satterfield Construction and NW White, to help get a range up and going in our area. But also then they have to do 48 hours of what we call driving. Some of that is observation and some of that is actually them driving the big rig themselves. And that has been a successful program. Again, it's been full every time that we've offered it, and we still have somewhat of a waiting list. So that is a huge opportunity for individuals to go through. And partnering with agencies such as WIOA and Goodwill, there's funding opportunities for individuals there. And we have a few grants here on campus to help offset some of that as well. So it's definitely a good opportunity. Right now, we're sitting at a 92% employment within the first 30 days of individuals graduating that program.
Wow.
And part of that is due to, as we go through the program CDL, when they're doing the classroom, again, we've had to change this a little bit as well with it being virtual, but we asked some of our trucking companies to come in and talk to the students.
Sure.
So there's that connection from the beginning before they ever finish the program with some of these companies that are looking for individuals. So many of them are, I won't say they're hired because they want to make sure they pass the class, but they tell them real quickly, if you pass, come to us and we'll hire you for the class, for a job. So again, that's been successful. Logistics is one of our newer programs. It's called Certified Logistics Technician. And this is more of, go ahead, I see you.
Sounds kind of space age to me. A bit above my, I'm interested to hear about this one too. I hear the term, but really don't understand it. So clue me in.
All right. So when you think of logistics, again, it just the basic terminology of logistics could be almost anything. But what this program focuses on is what you typically would think of in a manufacturing setting of the warehousing aspect of it. You got products coming in, you got products going out. You got to have a group of people maintaining that whole process. The stuff coming in, how do we get it, to the shelves until it's able to move out into, maybe the final end product once it comes out the other end of the manufacturing process. So they're learning, again, they're learning about safety within those organizations. They're learning forklift certification. And it's not just the typical forklift truck you think about. They learn, the standing, they learn the scissors lift, they learn a lot of those different aspects. They also get Six Sigma Yellow Belt certification as part of logistics. And then they're just learning that basic process of what we may call, it's called a kitting type process. And what it is it's, they may have a sheet of where they need to pick up certain products to put in a shipment that's going out. And they have to scan those things in and out to know that and know where to find it within the warehouses. So that's a lot of the piece of what they're learning there.
And that was a pretty smooth move you did right there, staying on the camera to kind of mute your phone all the time, say stop ringing.
Well, I was.
It's PTC Live, man. Some of those programs you talked about, when you talk about logistics, we're talking about companies like, the Tajans that are coming, but we're also talking about existing plants and manufacturing agencies in our 7-county area, like say Samsung and Newberry, Kraft Foods, other places. Those are places where individuals with these types of certifications can find employment throughout our service district, correct?
It is. It's not thinking about just logistics and it's got to be a warehouse. Again, every manufacturing operation has incoming products and they have outgoing products. So again, this type of person would be best utilized in those type of situations.
Well, the healthcare part of continuing education training has always been big. So now we're talking about emergency medical technicians and CNAs. Where are we with those programs right now?
Again, those programs tend to stay full as well within our auspice of what we're doing here at the college because, again, EMTs, some of those folks are on the front lines of what's happening, with the current pandemic that we have going on. So there's a huge need for almost every healthcare worker. And again, we haven't seen that pipeline of individuals trying to come in and gain those certifications drying up either. So they're coming in. It's just on our end, there's been that challenge of how do we make sure we get the content that's needed to the students so that we can get them out the other side with the correct, with the certifications, and obviously we want to make sure they have the right skills. But with EMT, I can tell you, over just the last couple of years, we went from offering one course, maybe a semester, or one EMT cohort per semester. It might have 8 to 10 students in it. This last fall that we completed previously, we had close to 50 students in just our EMT program.
Wow, that's tremendous growth.
And a lot of that is due to, again, our partners. A lot of what we do in continuing ed over here is our partners. So all 7 of our counties here in our service area have partnered with us to make sure that we have individuals coming through the program, but then also now we have a place to make sure they have potential employment once they finish that certification.
And let me just kind of revert for just a moment, because in my mind, I see Rusty Denning going out into our communities and talking with industry leaders, industry bosses, and spreading the word about our students and how they're being trained, and setting up programs and processes where what's available and you're specifically trying to meet some needs as well. Is that correct?
It is. It's finding out, because again, you know as well as I do, in our area here, we have 7 counties. Some of them a lot larger than some of the other counties. Population densities difference in each of those areas. The types of industry in each of those counties are a little different as well. Some are real heavy in manufacturing. Some may be some healthcare, and some of it may be, a lot more dependent on, say, the service sector side of it. Mm. So it's really going into each county, and you can kind of say customizing, but finding out what is that county's needs and right. What is it that would help that county the best? What type of program? That's where we try to glean that from. Now, again, when we can do a program like EMT that's needed in every county, that's I would say that's a little easier for us to do sometimes. Where I won't say we can do it is more of, say, a county needs, a certain program area that we don't really need as much in the other counties. That's fine as well. We can set up that program primarily in that county's, in one of our county campuses in that area to make sure we meet that need. And you're right. Several staff here in continuing ed that's what we do. Part of each week is go out, call on these companies, go visit them, find out what their current needs are. Because again, their needs change rapidly. Sure. So what I may find out from them this past January is a little bit different than what they need right now. So again, we're constantly changing those offerings.
We have a question, Rusty, and it's a great question. That has come through. Are these programs only offered in Greenwood? Can I take classes in Edgefield? Talk about the availability of classes in some of our county centers. Okay.
We do try to offer these in different counties as well. Of course, what we're going to be doing this fall is we're doing a little better job of making sure we get more of these programs out to some of our county campuses, where maybe in the past we've done a few things, but we haven't done as much as maybe we could be doing. And so we're taking this opportunity this fall to offer more of those in those counties. And I'll just see if I can look through my sheet here real quick. But we did, since you said Edgefield, yeah, we'll be doing a few things. There's going to be a EMT program going on down in the Edgefield area. Okay. We will be doing, you heard me mention on the logistics, the Six Sigma certification. We're not doing the full logistics class down there right now, but we will be doing the Six Sigma certification part of that. Okay. But for anybody that's looking at manufacturing, that's a good certification to have going in. We'll also be doing what I haven't spoke about yet was our manufacturing job readiness workshop. Okay. What it is part of a larger program that we have that's called South Carolina Manufacturing Certification. Or you may have heard it called Manufacturing Production Technician. It's a program that the bigger program is 200 hours. Well, again, we've got individuals who don't have, 3 months to try to go through a program. They need something quick so they can go out and get a job. And that's where this manufacturing job readiness, it's a little less than a month program to give them the basics in safety and quality and some of those areas. And of course, some of those soft skills that we always hear companies talk about. That's designed in that program specifically. Those will be pushed out to all of our county campuses.
Great. Well, here's a thought. we have a lot of students that come through our short-term programs, and even in say in the traditional college setting, where they take a certification and then want to transition into a longer-term program. Talk about some of the opportunities you have to do that and how you can seamlessly transition into longer-term programs through the continuing education division.
Okay, well, just like we talked about some of the short-term programs that we've already mentioned, some of those programs we have already worked with our academic side of the college here at Piedmont Tech to create that pathway. Some of those programs, again, students can take it as a non-credit student, some may take it as an academic student. And again, that may be for varying reasons. And again, each student, we'd have to look at each student, determine which one would be the best route for them coming in. But from that, what we've tried to create is, even if you took that on the non-credit side, let's say EMT, for example. You took the EMT program on the non-credit side, but you want to go into paramedic program now, which is truly a fully academic program, but you took it as non-credit. Well, I would say kind of many years ago, if you took something on the non-credit side, you may have to repeat that course again on the academic side because we didn't transfer potential credit or grant, exemption credit for those classes you took or certifications. Well, now here at Piedmont Tech, we've put that in place.
Okay.
Many of those programs, as long as there is a course or program that's on the academic side where we can grant that exemption credit, and a lot of that's because we're teaching it with the same qualified instructors, we're teaching it with the same content and materials that the academic side is teaching their programs, we can get that exemption credit for some of those programs. So a student now can come in and not have to worry about repeating something just because they took it on the non-credit side to start with.
Great, great. Well, and in that transition, what about funding opportunities for students and to support students enrolling in the programs or transitioning into the workforce?
Right, and again, that's something that's a little different that many people don't know. Again, many trainings that we do for our companies, obviously, in those situations, our companies tend to pay for training when they send employees to classes. But for an individual just coming in wanting to take a class, unfortunately, as a non-credit class, it doesn't qualify for what we always hear, lottery, tuition assistance or the
standard financial aid, Pell Grant, those sorts of things.
Right, SC wins, funding that's the state funding now that we hear about, it doesn't qualify for those programs. So what happens is we, on the non-credit side, sometimes we receive funding, and it goes back to some of the partners I mentioned earlier, Goodwill, WIOA. Many times students can get qualified under their programs. And again, they would send them to us and then they would pay for that tuition. Also on the non-credit side have also in the past received what's called Workforce Pathway Scholarships. These are scholarships funded by the state legislature to help with short-term training, to help individuals go out and get a job. And again, that's why the focus is on the short-term training. To get that certificate or that degree or that certification per se at the end of it. But again, now the student may have started on my side, or as I would call it, the non-credit side, got certification, but now they want to continue on because now they're ready for that 2-year degree. Well, once they transfer over into the academic side, now they're eligible for all the other funding that's out there. So again, it's a situation where a student could come through both ways and still not really have to pay tuition to go all the way through an associate's degree, depending on which program they decide to go through.
And it's great to have that kind of funding as people transition from the quote unquote non-credit side into credit coursework, because one of the biggest caveats for Piedmont Tech is the fact that 7 out of 10 of our students go to school tuition free. There's enough financial aid available for students to come in and pursue the degrees that they're interested in without taking a tremendous financial hit. And that's one of the beauties of the technical college system for both sides of the house, quote unquote, our continuing education and economic development section and our credit section.
Right.
So,
and Steve,
go ahead.
If you just, because you mentioned both the credit and non-credit, and I think that's something that a lot of times people don't also understand is, again, on the academic side, we have, throughout the course of a year, 6,000-7,000 students that come through Piedmont Tech on the academic side. It's an additional up to 5,000 students on the non-credit side.
Really? Y'all are that big?
Yes. See, you can come visit us more, Steve.
You know, actually, you know, I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the things that you're doing, but I honestly didn't know that it was 5,000.
Well, keep in mind, we do a lot for company specific training. So again, it may not be a typical student coming for a degree, they're coming for a course.
Right.
They're not getting a certification at the end of it. They're just coming for a course that their company wants them to do this training on. Sure. When that happens, it's usually a group of 8, 10, 12, 14 students at one time for that one program. But again, you do see a lot of students who are going through this route. And that was the big need that we saw as a college. You know, how do we transition some of these students on through our other academic programs? And so that's what created, again, that great partnership that we have between both sides of the college, as I would call it. Really, we're one college, though, at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so this just helps that transition with that part of it. But yeah, we do have a lot of activity. But again, typically, just think of it. We don't have students here for 12 months out of the whole year. I may have you here for a month. I may have you here for 3 months, and then you've moved on to something else.
And and in most cases, you've moved on to employee.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. And we even see graduates that come through, you know, you've graduated through, say, our mechatronics program. But there may be that one little certification that's related to your job now at your manufacturer, where you come back and you may come see us for that short-term certification.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why they call it continuing education.
That's it. Yep.
Well, here's another interesting and important aspect of our continuing education division and our economic development division is apprenticeships. And, you know, honestly, when you talk to people, I think sometimes apprenticeships, though it sounds very simple, for lack of a better word, I think apprenticeships are sometimes really misunderstood. Am I correct?
Yes, it is, because you know, again, we've all been taught, you know, when you go to apprenticeship program, or sometimes you may have heard them called journeyman type programs. And again, a lot of these are individuals going through the process because I'm trying to finally get a job somewhere. Uh-huh. Apprenticeship is defined in South Carolina, which is called Apprenticeship Carolina. It's us already behind the scenes working with a company to set up an apprenticeship program. Then we take the opportunity to try to find individuals to go through that process. The nice thing about the apprenticeship program, typically with most of our companies, is if we have an apprenticeship program set up with, say, a company in one of our counties for maintenance technicians. So we have individuals that we work, again, the companies are interviewing these individuals because they have to, while they're going through the apprenticeship program, they're hired by these companies. So they're getting paid by the company. They may not be working full-time. They may just work part-time, but then they give them the opportunity to come to school the other part of the time to get whatever education it may be that they need. So these apprenticeships can last anywhere from 1 year to 4 years, depending on the education. But the nice thing is, again, they're getting paid while they're going through the apprenticeship program. And in many cases, not all, but many cases, the company is also footing the education bill for those individuals. So you think about you graduating with a 2-year degree with a company going through the maintenance program. You finish your 2-year degree, you have no student debt. You're making anywhere from $15, $20, $25 an hour, again, depending on the company and depending on the position that you're hired in for, to work with that company. That's not bad at all for you to have no student debt and you're already at a certain level of income or, you know, payroll that you get through those companies. That
is excellent.
And with that said, we currently have over 50 apprenticeship programs, Piedmont Tech. Now, again, some of those companies may not be hiring at the moment, so they're not running. They have their program, but they're not active at the moment. Okay. But then other companies, that's part of when they try to hire you, they'll go, "We'll hire you, but you have to agree to go through this apprenticeship program." So again, every company does it a little different. And that is something that individuals can call me in continuing ed, and I can talk to them. If they know the kind of career path they're looking to go into, I can kind of help direct them to those companies that do apprenticeship programs so they can try to get in. Because again, at the end of the day, to get into the apprenticeship program itself, you have to be hired by the company is who puts you in the program.
And finally, one last thing we want to talk about, testing and pre-employment. Shed a little bit of light for people that are listening about testing and pre-employment, or is it testing for pre-employment, so that students are, people are being prepared for the opportunities that are available through continuing education.
Your short answer is it's both.
Okay.
But essentially what it is we work with several of our companies in the area where we're kind of considered like a third-party tester for them.
Okay.
When they have individuals apply, they'll say, okay, well, you've applied, we want to continue looking at you, but we need you to go take your work keys testing, or we need you to take a mechanical reasoning test or an observation test, or whatever it may be. That company calls us typically, and they'll give us a list of potential employees that they're looking at, and they'll send them to us to do those tests for them. And then what we do is send the test back to the company. That way it's not biased in any way, the company, because they've allowed us to do that testing for them. And then the other way is if some of our companies, it just helps individuals going through that process to have work key scores. Or, if you already know what those companies are looking for, you can come on your own and take those tests as well. You don't have to be referred by a company to come in and take those assessments.
Great.
The other piece of that is, for anybody taking, say, Microsoft certifications, and those type of tests, we're a testing center for that as well. And that's where part of that comes in. Now, the pre-employment, part of that is, I mentioned a little earlier, we got that manufacturing job readiness workshop. That's really what that is, a pre-employment workshop.
Okay.
We've partnered with several companies throughout the 7 counties who have said, if individuals go through this course, we'll take a look at them. We'll bring them in for an interview. So it's kind of an opportunity for individuals to take the initiative, go through the training with us, and then they can go get applied. So it's kind of, you bring that certificate to that employer, knowing they know what's in that course, and they're willing to at least interview you for that process. The nice thing that's been with the job readiness workshop is that one is one that is covered by our funding 100%. So students don't have to pay for it.
Oh man, that's outstanding. Now, of course, with all that's going on, you can't possibly be in all these places at one time. And you've got, I know that you have a tremendous staff of individuals that are working with you. Tell us a little bit, could you just, maybe they're not here, but could you tell our audience a little bit about the people that will encounter when they come down to look into opportunities through our continuing education and economic development division?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got about 13 individuals in and out that you may or may not see, because again, some of them stay, as you call it, in the road, working with our companies and doing the outreach. But just so you can see the overall structure of what we have, what we've done is kind of break it down into expert levels, as I would call it. We've got folks who their expertise is in manufacturing or quality or whatever it may be, and that's what they focus on when they're working with companies. We've got a healthcare program manager. His focus is nothing but working with the different healthcare organizations out there. And I miss it a lot of times, but we hadn't talked much about it, but our business and professional development, we've got a program manager that just focuses on those type of programs. So again, depending on what you're looking for when you come in, that's who you would be assigned to work with. And then they could help you through that process. Very similar to what you would see in on the academic side in the admissions process. Depending on the program area you're wanting to go into is who typically you talk with. But that one person would help you through the whole process. They'll help you with getting you registered for the class you need. They will help you with the financial aid aspect of that as well. Again, we're limited on our side for financial aid, but they can help them with what is available or help refer them to, again, WIA or some other organization that can help with the financial piece of that.
Rusty, do I need an appointment to come down and speak with someone in continuing education about opportunities that I may have heard about or read about in the newspaper? Can I walk in and say, hey, I'd like to get some more information about this program? And if I did so, can I walk in at Greenwood? Would they be able to give me that type of information at Newberry, Edgefield, Saluda? Okay.
Well, that's kind of a tricky question considering the environment we're in right now.
Yeah.
I would tell you, yes, you could walk in at any time.
But I can call now, right?
You can call anytime. We do have a staff person that's here all the time. But again, because of where we are, we're currently closed, as they call it, closed to the public for walk-in traffic. But yes,
I'm still.
I know.
Like, yeah, I'm just gonna go. Here to get some information. I guess you can't do that anymore.
But yes, you can. Absolutely. You can go online to our Continuing Ed website, which is off of the Piedmont Tech PTC EDU website. And there's a link that's Continuing Ed right on the front page. And it can go in and show you all the programs that we do offer in those dates and times. And a student can either, I won't say apply, they can fill out the application that they have on there, which is a very short one that we have, and pay for a course because they want to go ahead and register for it. Or you can submit a thing in for an inquiry, because you don't really know what you want. And then at that time, someone will respond to you. And typically how that's given out is to, depending on the area you're asking for, it's given to that person.
Right.
So you would have someone. Again, we have, you always hear the Center for Advanced Manufacturing up in Lawrence County. We have a staff person located there that their primary focus is that manufacturing center and all the programs that are happening there, credit and non-credit. And then we have one individual that does nothing but out in the community, again, that outreach, talking to these companies, what is needed, doing surveys with them, finding out what those needs are. And then again, a lot of people don't know, but we, when you think of the Medford Center and the Conference Center at the college, that falls under our division as well. That's Ben Higgins. So yeah, anybody looking, we're limited right now on being able to rent out our facilities, but that would be the person you would talk to about that process.
Well, I tell you what, Rusty, we've actually gone over our time a little bit, but we take some, we take some shots here and there, and kind of step out of bounds every now and then. But hey, I want to thank you for coming on with us. The information that you've given is invaluable, and giving some tremendous insight into what actually is going on down in continuing education and economic development, the links that we have with our communities in all 7 counties, and what we're doing to train a capable, prepared workforce. Thank you for your time, Rusty. Remember the name, remember the title if you don't have anything else for our listeners. And you can just remember the name Rusty Denning. Everybody can call Rusty Denning at the same time, and he'll answer everybody's phone call. But thank you so much for coming on, my friend, and for providing so much valuable information. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. And I'd just like to say, again, since, again, I don't know what's been popped up on the screen completely, but they can give us a call at 941-8400, and that's our front line here in continuing education. And like you said, yeah, absolutely, give me a call. It's 941-8417. That's my direct line. Or give me a call, and then I can kind of help push you in the right direction of which program manager you can sit down with, and we can get you signed up for whatever program you're looking for. If not, we can just sit down with you and help you figure out what we need to be doing next.
Okay. Well, thank you again for joining us. That's it for today's segment of PTC Live. This is Stevie B at PTC signing off with Rusty Denning, and we'll see you next week, same time, Thursdays, 4 p.m. right here at Piedmont Technical College.